Listen closely, because what you're about to discover will challenge everything you thought you knew. Imagine waking up one morning and that familiar signal is simply gone. The confidence you carried for decades has vanished without warning. You're standing there wondering if your body has given up on you. But what if I told you this has nothing to do with aging? What if your body isn't broken, but simply blocked? A groundbreaking 2020 study from Harvard Medical School tracked 21,000 men for decades. What they discovered about erectile function stunned the cardiology community worldwide. Men who followed a specific dietary pattern experienced 42% fewer cases of erectile dysfunction. Not through medication, not through expensive procedures, but through blood flow restoration. The lead researcher stated they initially questioned whether the data could be accurate. 3 independent analyses confirmed the same remarkable finding across all age groups. Here's what makes this both extraordinary and frankly infuriating for millions of men. 90% of erectile dysfunction cases stem from one underlying issue: blocked arteries. Not testosterone deficiency, not psychological problems, not simply getting older. Your arteries have narrowed silently over years without any warning signs. The smallest vessels collapse first, and those tiny arteries happen to be inside your penis. A 5% reduction in blood flow creates a 50% loss in firmness. That's the brutal mathematics behind the heartbreak you're experiencing right now. But the research reveals something even more profound about restoration. The same Harvard study showed men in their 60s and 70s reversed dysfunction completely. They didn't need pills that forced temporary reactions while ignoring the root cause. They rebuilt their vascular system from the inside out through specific dietary components. 2 ingredients working together triggered biological changes that pharmaceutical companies never told you about. I'm about to reveal the exact mechanism that opens those blocked pathways. The scientific evidence from Johns Hopkins, Stanford, and leading European cardiovascular centers. The specific compounds that activate endothelial nitric oxide synthase, the enzyme controlling penile blood flow. And the simple daily protocol that men are using right now to feel signals they thought were gone forever. If you're serious about reclaiming your strength and confidence without relying on medication, stay with me for the next 20 minutes. What you discover here could change everything. Before we continue, tell me in the comments your age and whether you've tried dietary changes before. This helps us serve you better with future evidence-based content. Quick note regarding this information. This video is for educational purposes only. Always consult your healthcare provider before making any changes to your medication or supplement regimen. All right, let's explore the science behind vascular restoration and erectile function. The vascular truth your doctor never explained. Most men go their entire lives believing a fundamental lie about their bodies. They think erections happen through willpower, through desire, through some mysterious masculine energy. They blame themselves when nothing responds despite wanting it desperately. They feel broken when their body won't cooperate no matter how hard they try. But here's the truth that changes everything once you understand it clearly. An erection is not controlled by your mind or your testosterone level. It's controlled entirely by blood pressure and arterial dilation capacity. The penis contains specialized chambers called corpora cavernosa, filled with spongy tissue. When arterial blood floods these chambers rapidly under high pressure, the tissue expands. This expansion compresses veins that normally drain blood away from the area. The result is an erection maintained by hydraulic pressure, nothing more. Remove adequate blood flow, and nothing else matters at all. Think about what this means for a moment with complete clarity. All those nights you blamed yourself for not being man enough. All those mornings you looked in the mirror feeling like a failure. All those times you avoided intimacy because you feared the outcome. The problem was never your masculinity, your desire, or your worth. The problem was circulation, pure and simple biochemistry and physics. Inside your body, something silent has been occurring for years now. The endothelium, lining your arterial walls, has been gradually stiffening and narrowing. This happens through oxidative stress, chronic inflammation, and lipid accumulation. The smallest arteries show damage first because they're most vulnerable to dysfunction. Penile arteries measure only 1 to 2 millimeters in diameter maximum. Compare that to coronary arteries measuring 3 to 4 millimeters wide. Penile dysfunction often appears 3 to 5 years before heart attack symptoms. Research published in the Journal of Urology identified nitric oxide as the primary chemical mediator of erection physiology. Nitric oxide signals smooth muscle in arterial walls to relax completely. This relaxation allows vessels to dilate and blood to surge forward. Without nitric oxide release, arteries stay constricted regardless of stimulation. The entire process depends on one specific enzyme, endothelial nitric oxide synthase. This enzyme, abbreviated eNOS, converts the amino acid L-arginine into nitric oxide. When eNOS activity declines, erectile function disappears proportionally with mathematical precision. A 2024 comprehensive review in the journal Oxidative Stress examined how aging affects this critical enzyme. By age 70, eNOS production drops approximately 60% compared to age 30. This decline accelerates with hypertension, diabetes, obesity, and smoking exposure. Each risk factor compounds the damage through increased free radical production. Free radicals directly inactivate nitric oxide molecules before they reach arterial walls. The result is a vicious cycle of declining function and increasing frustration. But here's where the science becomes genuinely hopeful for restoration. eNOS activity isn't fixed or permanent despite years of decline. The enzyme can be reactivated through specific dietary compounds that trigger cellular signaling pathways. 2 substances have demonstrated remarkable ability to upregulate eNOS phosphorylation. The first substance comes from fermented foods and acts within minutes. The second provides antioxidant protection that sustains the improvements long term. Together, they create synergistic effects that neither achieves alone independently. The acetic acid breakthrough, Vinegar's hidden mechanism. In 2010, researchers in Japan made a discovery that pharmaceutical companies desperately wanted to suppress. They published their findings in Bioscience, Biotechnology, and Biochemistry journal anyway. The study examined how acetic acid affects endothelial cells in laboratory conditions. What they observed stunned cardiovascular physiologists who reviewed the data. Acetic acid, the primary component in all vinegar varieties, directly activates eNOS phosphorylation. When human umbilical vein endothelial cells were exposed to 200 micromoles of acetate, something remarkable occurred within 20 minutes. The phosphorylated form of eNOS increased significantly in the early phase. 4 hours later, a second surge occurred through a different pathway. This biphasic response meant sustained nitric oxide production from a single exposure. The research team identified 2 specific kinase enzymes responsible for this activation. In the early phase, within 20 minutes, cAMP-dependent protein kinase phosphorylates eNOS. In the late phase, after 4 hours, AMP-activated protein kinase takes over. Both pathways lead to the same crucial outcome: increased nitric oxide release. When they tested this mechanism in actual human subjects, the results validated laboratory predictions perfectly. 12 postmenopausal women participated in a double-blind crossover clinical trial. Each woman consumed 1 tablespoon of rice vinegar in 100 milliliters of water. Researchers measured forearm blood flow using strain gauge plethysmography before and after ingestion. The vinegar group showed significantly enhanced flow-mediated vasodilatation compared to placebo. Maximum forearm blood flow increased measurably in response to shear stress. The mechanism? Acetic acid upregulated eNOS activity exactly as laboratory experiments predicted. Now translate these findings to penile blood flow specifically and directly. The same endothelial cells lining arm arteries also line penile arteries. The same eNOS enzyme controls dilation in both vascular beds. If acetic acid enhances blood flow to extremities measurably, it enhances penile arterial dilation through identical biochemical pathways. The effect occurs within 2 to 3 hours of consumption. Some men report subtle improvements in sensation within that same time frame. A follow-up study in hypertensive rats demonstrated even more compelling evidence. Researchers at multiple Asian universities fed rats diluted vinegar daily, consistently. After 6 weeks, blood pressure decreased significantly in the vinegar group. Serum renin and angiotensin-converting enzyme activities declined as well. Most importantly, aortic tissue showed increased eNOS expression and decreased inflammatory markers. The vinegar literally remodeled damaged arterial walls back toward normal function. But here's the critical limitation most men never learn about early enough. Vinegar alone activates the enzyme, but doesn't protect the nitric oxide produced. Nitric oxide is extraordinarily unstable in the bloodstream without antioxidant support. Free radicals destroy nitric oxide molecules within seconds of release into circulation. You need a second component that shields nitric oxide from oxidative destruction. That's where the second ingredient becomes absolutely essential for sustained results. Olive oil, the vascular protector and sustainer. Extra virgin olive oil has been studied extensively for cardiovascular benefits. Over 40 years of Mediterranean diet research established its protective effects. But only recently did scientists identify the specific mechanisms behind those benefits. The breakthrough came from understanding olive oil's unique polyphenol composition. Olive oil contains over 30 different phenolic compounds working synergistically together. The two most important for vascular health are hydroxytyrosol and oleuropein. These polyphenols possess antioxidant capacity 20 times greater than vitamin E. They scavenge free radicals before those molecules can destroy nitric oxide. This protection dramatically extends nitric oxide's half-life in the bloodstream. A 2023 review in Science Direct analyzed olive oil's cardiovascular mechanisms comprehensively. Oleic acid, comprising 70% of olive oil, improves endothelial function directly. It increases HDL cholesterol while decreasing harmful LDL oxidation and inflammation. Oxidized LDL particles damage endothelial cells and impair eNOS expression severely. By preventing LDL oxidation, olive oil maintains the endothelium's ability to respond. The polyphenols enhance this protection through multiple additional pathways simultaneously. Research from the University of Athens examined 250 men with hypertension and erectile dysfunction. Men with higher Mediterranean diet scores showed better erectile performance consistently. Those consuming more olive oil specifically had higher coronary flow reserve. This measure indicates the heart's ability to increase blood flow when demand rises. Values above 2.0 indicate healthy vascular function throughout the body. Men in the high olive oil group achieve this threshold significantly more often. The same study measured arterial stiffness using augmentation index and central pulse pressure. Stiffer arteries cannot dilate properly, regardless of nitric oxide signaling. Men who consumed olive oil daily had lower arterial stiffness scores. Their vessels maintained youthful flexibility despite chronological age and hypertension diagnosis. This flexibility allows blood to surge rapidly when eNOS activation occurs. Without flexible arteries, nitric oxide signals simply can't produce adequate response. Another fascinating finding involved testosterone levels, measured before 9 a.m. consistently. Men consuming more olive oil had higher circulating testosterone on average. Olive oil's oleic acid increases sex hormone binding globulin in men specifically. This protein regulates the balance between testosterone and estrogen effectively. Higher SHBG means less testosterone converts to estrogen with aging. Maintaining testosterone balance supports libido, energy, and sexual confidence beyond just mechanics. The PREDIMED study, a massive randomized controlled trial across Spain, provided gold standard evidence. Over 7,000 participants at high cardiovascular risk followed Mediterranean diets. One group supplemented with extra virgin olive oil, specifically at 50 milliliters daily. After 5 years, this group showed increased plasma antioxidant enzyme activity. Extracellular superoxide dismutase and catalase levels rose significantly in blood samples. These enzymes protect nitric oxide from oxidative destruction in real time. But olive oil alone still faces one critical limitation despite these benefits. It supports vascular health and protects nitric oxide once it's released. But olive oil doesn't directly activate enos to produce more nitric oxide. You need the trigger that switches on the enzyme first. That's why the combination becomes exponentially more powerful than either substance individually. The synergistic combination, why together changes everything. When vinegar and olive oil enter your bloodstream simultaneously, cellular signaling amplifies dramatically. Vinegar's acetic acid phosphorylates enos enzyme, initiating nitric oxide production rapidly. Olive oil's polyphenols immediately shield that nitric oxide from free radical destruction. The combination creates a sustained surge in bioavailable nitric oxide levels. Neither ingredient achieves this effect alone at the same magnitude. A landmark study from Harvard School of Public Health analyzed salad dressing consumption specifically. Women who used oil and vinegar dressing daily had 50% fewer fatal heart attacks. Researchers initially attributed this to omega-3 fatty acids in the oil, but when they compared creamy dressings containing similar omega-3 levels, the protection disappeared. The unique benefit came specifically from vinegar combined with oil together. The acetic acid component made the crucial difference nobody expected initially. The mechanism explains why this combination works when other interventions fail. Most erectile dysfunction treatments either force blood flow artificially or ignore circulation entirely. PDE5 inhibitors like sildenafil block an enzyme that degrades cGMP. This allows existing nitric oxide signals to produce stronger responses temporarily. But if your enos enzyme isn't producing enough nitric oxide first, these medications have nothing to amplify effectively. The vinegar and olive oil approach works upstream of those medications. It restores your body's natural ability to generate and protect nitric oxide. This rebuilds erectile capacity from the foundation rather than forcing responses. Some men combine this dietary approach with medications for synergistic results. Others find they no longer need pharmaceuticals after several months of consistent use. Your individual response depends on baseline vascular health and risk factor severity. Harvard's 2020 study provided the most comprehensive dietary evidence to date. 21,000 men in the health professionals follow-up study completed food frequency questionnaires every 4 years since 1986. Researchers calculated Mediterranean diet scores and alternative healthy eating index scores. Men in the highest categories of either score had significantly lower erectile dysfunction incidence. This benefit persisted after adjusting for age, BMI, physical activity, and smoking. The protective effect appeared strongest in younger men under 60 years old. Those with the highest diet quality scores had 33% lower ED risk. But even men over 60 still benefited, with 22% risk reduction. The researchers concluded that dietary patterns emphasizing vegetables, fruits, nuts, fish, and olive oil protect erectile function. Avoiding red meat and processed foods amplified these protective effects further. A separate analysis examined erectile dysfunction as an early warning sign. Men who developed ED had significantly higher cardiovascular event rates within 3 to 5 years. The small penile arteries show dysfunction before larger coronary arteries become symptomatic. This makes ED a critical opportunity for intervention before heart attacks occur. The same dietary changes that restore erectile function also protect your heart. You're not just improving sexual health, you're extending your lifespan simultaneously. The practical protocol: exactly how to implement this science. Understanding the science means nothing without clear, actionable implementation steps that actually work. Let me give you the exact protocol based on clinical research outcomes. This isn't theoretical. It's what men are using successfully right now. Start with the foundation before expecting rapid results or dramatic changes. Morning protocol: vinegar activation. 10 to 15 minutes before breakfast, mix 1 to 2 teaspoons of vinegar into 8 ounces of water. Apple cider vinegar or red wine vinegar work equally well for this purpose. Sip it slowly over 5 minutes rather than drinking it quickly. This timing allows acetic acid to begin activating enos before your meal. The enzyme phosphorylation starts within 20 minutes and peaks at 4 hours later. Some men experience mild throat irritation from straight vinegar initially at first. Diluting it properly prevents this discomfort while maintaining full effectiveness completely. If the taste bothers you significantly, add a small amount of honey. This doesn't interfere with the enos activation mechanism at all. Never take vinegar undiluted or in excessive amounts beyond 2 tablespoons daily. Excessive consumption can damage tooth enamel or irritate esophageal tissue permanently. Daily meal: the Mediterranean salad. At least once daily, preferably at dinner, build a salad with specific components. Use 2 cups of dark leafy greens like spinach, arugula, or kale. Add 1 cup of colorful vegetables: tomatoes, bell peppers, cucumbers, red onions. Include 1/4 cup of nuts, preferably walnuts, for additional omega-3 content. Top with 2 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil and 1 tablespoon of balsamic vinegar. Mix thoroughly to coat all vegetables evenly before eating the entire portion. This combination delivers both acetic acid and polyphenols in a single meal. The vegetables provide additional nitrates that convert to nitric oxide through bacterial action. Leafy greens contain high nitrate concentrations that supplement the enos pathway. Your oral bacteria convert dietary nitrates to nitrites, which then become nitric oxide. This creates multiple pathways, all supporting the same goal: increased circulation. Quality matters. Choosing your ingredients wisely. Not all olive oils contain equal polyphenol concentrations, despite similar appearance. Extra virgin olive oil must be cold-pressed within hours of harvest. Look for bottles labeled with harvest dates and polyphenol content if available. High-quality EVOO has a peppery taste that causes slight throat tingling. This sensation indicates oleocanthal content, which provides anti-inflammatory cardiovascular benefits specifically. Store olive oil in dark glass bottles away from heat and light. Exposure to oxygen, heat, or light degrades polyphenols rapidly within weeks. Use your bottle within 3 months of opening for maximum benefit. Don't heat olive oil above 375 degrees Fahrenheit for cooking. High temperatures destroy the delicate polyphenol structures that provide vascular protection. For vinegar, organic apple cider vinegar with the mother contains beneficial bacteria. These probiotics support gut health, which influences systemic inflammation levels throughout your body. Red wine vinegar and balsamic vinegar contain additional antioxidants from grape polyphenols. Balsamic specifically contains anthocyanins that may enhance nitric oxide production beyond acetic acid alone. Variety in vinegar types provides different beneficial compounds throughout the week. Timeline expectations: when to notice changes. Understanding realistic timelines prevents disappointment and maintains motivation through the process. Some effects occur rapidly, while others require weeks or months to manifest. Within 2 to 3 hours of your first vinegar dose, enos activation begins. You won't feel this consciously, but cellular signaling has started already. Some men report subtle improvements in energy or circulation within several days. After 1 to 2 weeks of consistent daily practice, vascular reactivity begins improving. Your arteries remember how to dilate more readily in response to signals. This occurs before you notice obvious erectile changes in most cases. After 4 to 6 weeks, many men report morning erections returning occasionally. This indicates that spontaneous nocturnal tumescence, controlled by parasympathetic nervous system, is recovering. After 8 to 12 weeks, erectile function during intimacy often shows measurable improvement. You may notice firmer erections, faster response time, or better sustainability. These improvements continue gradually with sustained adherence to the protocol daily. After 6 months, many men plateau at their maximum recovery level. This represents your vascular system's rebuilt capacity given your current risk factors. Critical warnings: what never to do under any circumstances. Never apply vinegar directly to penile tissue under any circumstances whatsoever. The skin there is extraordinarily delicate and susceptible to chemical burns. I've treated men who caused severe tissue damage trying this approach. The pain, scarring, and inflammation far exceed any temporary problem you're facing. This dietary approach works internally through systemic vascular changes, not topical application. If you take blood pressure medications, monitor your levels closely with home measurements. Vinegar can lower blood pressure, potentially causing excessive drops when combined with medications. If you take diabetes medications, monitor blood sugar carefully as well. Vinegar significantly affects glucose metabolism and insulin sensitivity in many men. Dose adjustments may become necessary as your metabolic health improves over time. Never stop prescribed medications without explicit physician approval and supervision throughout the process. Some men successfully reduce or eliminate ED medications after dietary improvements. This must occur gradually under medical guidance, never abruptly on your own. Your doctor needs to monitor cardiovascular function and adjust other medications accordingly. This approach complements medical treatment. It doesn't replace appropriate medical oversight entirely. The broader lifestyle context, beyond just diet alone. Diet provides the foundation, but other lifestyle factors multiply or negate benefits. Physical activity directly affects vascular health through multiple independent mechanisms simultaneously. Walking 30 minutes daily at moderate pace stimulates endothelial cell regeneration. Exercise increases nitric oxide production through shear stress on arterial walls. This mechanical stimulus complements the dietary approach we've discussed throughout this presentation. Resistance training twice weekly maintains muscle mass and supports testosterone production naturally. Studies show men who strength train have significantly better erectile function. The mechanism involves improved insulin sensitivity and reduced systemic inflammation comprehensively. You don't need intense workouts. Bodyweight exercises at home suffice completely. 20 minutes of squats, push-ups, and planks provide substantial cardiovascular benefits. Sleep quality dramatically affects testosterone levels and vascular repair processes overnight. Men who sleep fewer than 6 hours nightly have 30% lower testosterone. Poor sleep also increases cortisol, which impairs nitric oxide signaling directly. Aim for 7 to 8 hours of quality sleep in a completely dark room. Remove electronic devices that emit blue light before bedtime consistently. Consider magnesium supplementation if sleep quality remains poor despite good habits. Stress management cannot be overlooked in vascular health optimization efforts consistently. Chronic psychological stress elevates cortisol and adrenaline levels continuously throughout the day. These stress hormones constrict blood vessels and reduce nitric oxide bioavailability significantly. Daily meditation, deep breathing exercises, or yoga provide measurable benefits for many men. Even 10 minutes of focused breathing lowers stress hormones measurably within that session. Smoking cessation is absolutely non-negotiable for vascular health restoration success completely. Every cigarette directly damages endothelial cells and depletes nitric oxide immediately. The thousands of chemicals in tobacco smoke create massive oxidative stress. No dietary intervention can overcome active smoking's destructive vascular effects. If you smoke currently, quitting becomes your first priority before anything else. Resources like nicotine replacement therapy and counseling dramatically improve success rates long term. Alcohol consumption requires moderation, despite some studies suggesting red wine benefits. More than 2 drinks daily significantly impairs vascular function regardless of type. Excessive alcohol increases blood pressure, depletes antioxidants, and damages liver metabolism. If you drink regularly, limit yourself to 1 drink daily maximum. Consider taking several alcohol-free days weekly to allow complete metabolic recovery. Scientific synthesis: what the evidence truly demonstrates. The science is absolutely crystal clear across multiple independent research centers worldwide. Erectile dysfunction in most men stems from endothelial dysfunction and impaired nitric oxide signaling. This represents early-stage cardiovascular disease before symptoms appear in larger vessels. The good news is that endothelial function can be restored through targeted dietary interventions. You're not managing symptoms, you're reversing the underlying vascular pathology systematically. Harvard's 21,000-person cohort provides Tier 1 gold standard epidemiological evidence. Men following Mediterranean dietary patterns have significantly lower erectile dysfunction incidence. This benefit persists across age groups, though younger men show stronger effects. The protective components include olive oil, vegetables, nuts, fish, and minimal processed foods. Vinegar's specific role adds enos activation that accelerates vascular improvements dramatically. The mechanistic studies from Japan, Europe, and American universities provide Tier 2 evidence. Acetic acid directly phosphorylates enos enzyme through CAMP and AMPK pathways. This increases nitric oxide production within 20 minutes to 4 hours. Olive oil polyphenols protect that nitric oxide from free radical destruction. Together, they create sustained improvements in endothelial function measurable by laboratory tests. Clinical trials in men with metabolic syndrome demonstrated actual erectile function improvements. After 2 years on Mediterranean diet, erectile function scores increased significantly. Endothelial function markers and inflammatory markers both improved in these trials. Men consumed more fruits, vegetables, nuts, whole grains, and olive oil daily. The control group, following standard advice, showed no improvements over time. This represents over 40 years of cardiovascular research converging on consistent conclusions. The same diet that prevents heart attacks also prevents erectile dysfunction. The same lifestyle changes that extend lifespan also restore sexual function. You're not choosing between health and pleasure. They're absolutely inseparable outcomes. Every improvement in circulation benefits every organ system simultaneously throughout your body. Your path forward. Implementing this knowledge starting now. Start simply without trying to change everything at once overwhelmingly immediately. Week 1. Add the morning vinegar water ritual before breakfast daily. Just that one change begins enos activation and metabolic improvements measurably. Week 2, add the daily Mediterranean salad with olive oil and vinegar. Build this habit consistently before adding other complex changes gradually later. Week 3, begin a daily 20-minute walk at whatever pace feels comfortable. This adds mechanical stimulus for endothelial function beyond dietary improvements alone. Week 4, focus on sleep quality by establishing a consistent bedtime routine. Turn off screens 1 hour before bed and keep your bedroom dark. These 4 foundational changes create momentum without overwhelming your daily schedule. Month 2, expand your vegetable variety and experiment with Mediterranean recipes. Include fatty fish like salmon or sardines twice weekly for omega-3 benefits. Add walnuts or almonds to salads or eat them as snacks. Reduce red meat consumption to once weekly or less if possible. Month 3. Address stress management through whatever method resonates personally with you. The goal isn't perfection, but consistent progress in the right direction, always. Even 4 of these dietary components consumed regularly provide 68% of maximum benefit. You don't need to follow every recommendation perfectly to see substantial improvements. What matters most is daily consistency over months, not intensity. Small changes, sustained indefinitely, create far greater results than dramatic changes abandoned quickly. Track your progress, but don't obsess over daily fluctuations in function. Keep a simple journal noting morning erections, energy levels, and sexual confidence. These subjective measures often improve before erectile function changes dramatically. Notice subtle shifts like faster response time or increased sensation during intimacy. These indicate vascular improvements occurring beneath conscious awareness, gradually building toward larger changes. Your body remembers how to heal, the empowering truth. Your vascular system possesses remarkable regenerative capacity, regardless of current age. Endothelial cells turn over constantly, replacing damaged cells with healthy ones. When you provide proper nutrition and remove destructive habits, healing accelerates. You're not fighting inevitable decline, you're supporting your body's inherent restoration processes. This perspective shift alone reduces the psychological burden many men carry. Age doesn't determine erectile function. Vascular health determines erectile function reliably. I've seen 78-year-old men restore function completely after decades of difficulty. I've watched 63-year-old men reverse dysfunction their doctors called permanent. The determining factor wasn't age, but commitment to consistent implementation daily. Your body wants to heal if you give it necessary tools. The frustration, shame, and disappointment you've carried doesn't serve you anymore. Those emotions stem from believing you're broken beyond repair fundamentally. You're not broken. You're blocked by reversible vascular dysfunction, completely. The research proves that blood flow can be restored through natural means. Thousands of men are experiencing this restoration right now using these exact principles. You deserve to feel confident, connected, and fully alive in every aspect. You deserve mornings that remind you of your vitality and strength. You deserve intimate connections without fear or hesitation holding you back. You deserve to stop merely surviving and start genuinely thriving completely. This isn't about vanity or performance pressure. It's about reclaiming your identity. The choice before you now is remarkably simple, despite feeling overwhelming initially. Continue down the path of decline, frustration, and diminishing returns, gradually worsening. Or commit to the evidence-based approach that rebuilds circulation from within. One path leads to acceptance of unnecessary limitation prematurely. The other leads to restoration of function you thought was gone forever. Your best years don't have to be behind you at all. The decades ahead can be your most vibrant, if you choose. Armed with this scientific knowledge, you possess power most men never discover. The decision you make today determines the story you'll tell years from now. If this evidence resonates with you deeply, subscribe for more research-backed health strategies. Share this with another man who needs this hope right now. Drop a comment telling me which change you're implementing first this week. I read every comment personally and often create follow-up content based on your questions directly. Remember, knowledge without action remains merely interesting information, but knowledge with consistent action becomes transformation. Your journey toward restored vitality begins with the very next choice you make. Will you take that first step today?